Just
place
right
that she loved. Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, obviously I saw what happened with the Door Valiente plaque.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about how that came about? Because getting a blue plaque on a public building
Ooh.
is very different to how it would normally go about. So how did you guys come up with doing that?
Well, it just struck me that I mean, Doreen is also listed. There is a book, or there is a list of people, but it isn't a book. It's called the Oxford Dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary of Biography. And every person that is named in the Oxford Dictionary of Biography, their name stays in there as having significantly contributed to the British way of life, and their name remains in the book for 1,000 years, and Doreen Valiente is in that. And that was brought about not by myself, but by Professor Ronald Hutton. So he's done work as well. Also one of our trustees. And the whole blue plaque idea was the fact that there are mentions of witches around. There's one significant one where witches have been burned. There's one up with the Pendle witches up in Yorkshire where they've been hanged, and they were all negative plaques that were put up by other people. But they're kind of not official plaques, if you know what I mean. Whereas the Blue Plaque Scheme is a very different organisation. So we went along to Brighton Council and had to talk to them and said, there was this wonderful lady that lived in that council block of flats who died because they have to have been dead at least 10 years. And
what was their reply? So did they know? Or?
No, they didn't, but they looked into it. But the first thing that they came back with was no. And so for 4 years we campaigned backwards and forwards and backwards and just saying, well, look, we want to reapply. And they got to the stage at one point where they'd actually drawn the plaque, there was a plan, there was a whole thing, but it still got turned down. At the end of the day, Doreen Valiente was a witch, and the connotations still go with that, the negativity. Anyway, eventually we wore them down, I think, and they said that they would. So the whole thing about the blue plaque was that, there was another thing where they said, John, we've got good news for you, we're going to accept Doreen as a blue plaque. Brilliant. When's it going up? Well, there's quite a list, and she goes at the end of the list. So I said, yeah, but when? And they said, well, we've calculated that, and it won't be less than 20 years, and it may well be, we think, about 22 years before she'll go on the list. And that particular week, I think they were doing Charles Dickens. Okay. So there were all significant plaques that were stacked up ahead of Doreen, but 22 years. So I said, well, I'm not even going to be around for the ceremony, So I said, it's a way of bypassing it, try a bit of skullduggery. And they said the only alternative is to pay for it yourself. So we went away and raised the money to have the blue plaque. But I mean, it was great. It was a fantastic day. Hundreds of people came.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures, the videos, and all the stuff.
Just brilliant. The mayor came along. The mayor was new mayor of Brighton. She'd made a fantastic speech. She got very involved. So there we are. Doreen was the first person ever to have a blue plaque, as a witch to have a blue plaque. And the council block of flats was the first block of flats in the UK that was
it's
council owned.
Yeah,
public
owned.
owned. So that was that one. We did that, and this year we're now doing Gerald Gardner's at his house in Highcliffe. Brilliant. Which brings us back to the book that Gerald Gardner wrote, his first book of shadows, because the house that this is going on in Highcliffe was the house that
where he wrote his book. Okay.
Where he wrote the book, and where he walked from this house to Mill House, where he was initiated. And so it's a very significant building. There were other buildings around the country and perhaps in the Isle of Man and stuff like that, but we felt that this was the most significant building. And the people that currently have the building, they love the idea, and not witches themselves, but they're very supportive.
They understand its historical significance.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's really, really good.
No,
to
that's
hear.
great. It's great.
So, we're sort of, obviously, this is the Pat Crowther weekend show, so Patricia Crowther.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, so how did this come about?
Well, the whole Day 4 series should never have happened, really. I'm glad it has done, but what happened was that Doreen, knowing that she was dying, was worried about her funeral. She had been to Alex Saunders' funeral, and that became a bit of a circus, a bit of a media circus, and happened quite close by in Eastbourne, or Hastings. And that was just a dreadful affair with press, and it was just awful. And she was worried that would happen. So what she asked was that I told 6 people only, and I was not to tell anyone else until she died. And then after Doreen died, I could then announce to the world that she passed on. There is a whole other thing that we could talk about, which would take a long time, but how she taught me where the Summerlands are. She taught me where she was going and took me there. And then I took her there after she died. But then, one of the 6 people started to tell people. So all of a sudden, there's lots and lots of people that now know. So we had to have Plan B. And Plan B was that when she did die, that I would lie through my teeth as to where the funeral was, when it was, and in what city it was even, which didn't make me very popular. I did it. I didn't like doing it, didn't like telling their lies, but I did. To a lot of people. And after a couple of days, it just wasn't the right thing to do. So I just told the truth. I just said, unless Doreen's given me a small list of people that she wants at the funeral. It's not against you, but it's a small list. She wants it very quiet, very peaceful. So what I'm going to do is, once the funeral's over, we'll have a day of celebration to celebrate Doreen's life. And 10 years later, it became an embarrassment, because if I didn't do it at the 10th anniversary of her passing, then we would never do it. The 11th anniversary didn't make any sense.
No.
So in 2009, we did a day for Doreen, which we did in London, and we asked, I've been involved with lots of conferences, especially with the Pagan Federation, and we would ask 15 people if they would like to talk, and hopefully getting 3 or 4. We asked 15 people if they'd like to talk about Doreen and her experiences at a day for Doreen, and all 15 people said yes, which made very interesting. It was then titled as the largest gathering of elders ever, but they all very kindly came along and donated their time and talked about Doreen and what have you. So I'd fulfilled the promise I'd made just before while she was dying, by having this day for Doreen. But as soon as people turned up to the event, they said, well, this is really good. Who are you going to do next? So I never meant to have a second one, but so many people put the pressure on, and at that we actually realised ourselves that it was a good idea. It wasn't a conference like everybody else's. There are lots of different. I'm not knocking anybody else's conference, far from it. I love them, but we weren't doing workshops. We weren't doing talks about esoteric things in general. We were talking about the life achievement of one particular person and what they meant to us. So the second one obviously became a day for Gerald, because Doreen's relationship with Gerald Gardner, and that was the second one. The third one was due to be Alex Saunders, for technical reasons that didn't happen. So the third one became. We then started to think, well, everybody that we're looking at is dead. You know, and it would be nice to celebrate someone who actually is still living and contributing.
Contemporary.
Yeah. So the third one became Professor Ronald Hutton, because of the work that he'd done on that. And this one I'm really looking forward to, because I think Patricia Crowther is just the most amazing person. I really love her. She's great. Doreen loved her too. I mean, they were great friends. So although Patricia had followed on from Doreen and taken Doreen's role that she'd given up as High Priestess to Gerald Gardner, Patricia Crowther equally contributed to that line, and remains to this day Gerald Gardner's absolute founder. I mean, she you can say nothing wrong. Gerald Gardner could do nothing wrong in her eyes. So she is 100% total supporter, and she keeps his memory alive. So the day for Patricia, for me, is very important. Patricia Crowther is just a wonderful lady, and I'm really looking forward to celebrating her along with everybody else.
Could you tell us about who are the talkers and what kind of talks they're intending to give, if you know already?
Well, no, actually, because this one has been completely organised by Ashley. I know that Ashley and Patricia have got together, and Patricia has to a very large extent said who she wanted to speak there. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've been kept out.
So you're almost getting to attend this as an audience participant.
Yeah, almost. I'm looking forward to doing that. No, today I'll be looking after. Tomorrow I'll be looking after the artifacts and talking to people.
Okay.
And hopefully doing a bit of fundraising, because the museum is going to take many thousands of pounds to open.
I'm sure it is. I'm to run, maintain it. So
I think once the museum's open, though, I think it'll